Let's talk about how one single regulation in California created this massive, massive problem for an entire industry, and, in the process, sparked a surprisingly clever business solution.
I mean, just imagine that for a second. What if a new rule could just stop your wheels from turning and halt your revenue overnight? Well, for over 1 million truck operators, this isn't some hypothetical question. It's their brand new reality. So, what is this rule at the center of it all? It's called the Clean Truck Check, or CTC for short. Basically, it's California's new program that forces pretty much every heavy-duty diesel truck on its roads to get regular, mandatory emissions tests. And the scale here is just staggering. We are not talking about a few thousand trucks. This thing affects over 1 million vehicles. And here's the real kicker. It doesn't matter one bit where your truck is registered. If you drive in California, you're on the hook. Now, you've got to understand, this isn't like your car's smog check you do every couple of years. No, this is a constant, recurring headache that fleet managers now have to bake into their regular workflow. Yeah, depending on how old your truck is, you're looking at 2, 3, sometimes even 4 of these mandatory tests every single year. You can see how for a fleet of just 10 or 20 trucks, this turns into a total logistical nightmare, and fast. And that right there brings us to the absolute core of the problem. The test fee itself is one thing, but the real cost, the one that can actually cripple a business, is downtime. That's any time a truck is off the road and not earning money. So where does all that time just vanish? Well, if you use a traditional test station, a driver can easily lose an hour and a half just fighting traffic to get there, another hour and a half just waiting in line, and then, an hour for all the admin stuff. It adds up so quickly. So you add it all up, and you're talking about more than 4 hours of lost productivity. 4 billable hours just gone. And that's for one truck, for one single test. Now multiply that across an entire fleet multiple times a year, and the numbers just get insane. Let's just put this into perspective for a second. A small fleet, say just 10 trucks, could lose over 160 billable hours every year. That translates to wasted driver wages, thousands in lost revenue, and the kind of chaos that leads to missed deliveries and really unhappy customers. And what if you miss a deadline or you fail a test? Well, the penalties are severe. The fines start at $800, and that's often per violation, per day. That's a steep, steep price to pay for a simple paperwork error. But honestly, the fine isn't even the biggest threat. The real killer is a DMV registration hold. If you fall out of compliance, the state can literally block your truck's registration, which makes it illegal to operate. Your asset instantly becomes a liability just sitting in the yard. No operation means no revenue, period. And this pressure, it isn't felt equally. Right here in Northern California, it is a huge challenge for the logistics and drayage companies that are buzzing around the Port of Oakland. It slams agriculture in the Central Valley, especially during harvest, and it hits construction haulers all across the Bay Area. All of these industries rely on continuous movement. And the process itself? It's like walking through a minefield. First, you have to navigate this super complex government website to register every single truck and pay all the fees. Second, you have to figure out which specific test your engine needs. And third, you have to submit those passing results on a really rigid schedule. One wrong move at any step means you're non-compliant. So this is just a classic case of a problem becoming a huge opportunity, right? With so much on the line, businesses were absolutely desperate for a way to manage all this without killing their productivity. So how'd they solve the puzzle? And here is the innovation. Instead of sending trucks to a station, a whole new model popped up, on-site mobile testing. And the difference is, well, it's night and day. Downtime just plummets from over 4 hours to about 15 minutes. The driver and fuel costs of over $120, they just disappear. And scheduling becomes completely flexible. You can do it on nights, on weekends, whenever your fleet is already parked. The result? You go from a major business-halting disruption to zero productive downtime. So the solution wasn't just about a faster test. It was about changing the entire game. It takes this huge disruption and turns it into a totally seamless background task that just happens while your trucks are already parked and off the clock. Okay, but mobile testing only solves the physical part of the problem, right? what about that very first hurdle, that confusing, frustrating, bureaucratic registration process that every single truck owner in the state has to deal with? This is where the innovation really scaled up. A new service popped up to solve just that one piece of the puzzle for anyone, anywhere in California. And the price point? Well, it's designed to be a complete no-brainer. So, here's how it works. It's really simple. For a small fee, an expert team just handles all the complex portal registration for you. Then they provide you with your official credentials. And finally, they connect you, now that you're fully compliant, with a trusted local mobile testing partner. And this really says it all. What this does is take a multi-hour bureaucratic headache and it simplifies the whole thing down to a quick 5-minute conversation. I mean, that is the very definition of efficiency. But what's really clever here is the network effect. The local testing partners, they get a steady stream of clients who are already registered and ready to go at zero marketing cost. It helps smaller fleets in rural areas find support they might not have had otherwise. It creates this win-win system that just makes compliance seamless across the entire state. So this whole story is just a perfect example of how sometimes burdensome regulations can actually be the catalyst for real innovation. It forces people to find smarter, more efficient ways to get the job done. It really makes you wonder, right, as the world gets more and more complex, what other industries are just waiting for a similar breakthrough?